Welcome to our weekly demos. Today we're going to start with gold miners and Robin.
Let me get this shared. All right, flipping on over. All right, so I've been working on the new agent operator. And so you can see just in this live on Edge. And what I've done is I've let us change the deployment of our of the current version that's going to be running our integrations. Quick remember of how the new integrations work is there's the agent kind of run process, and then it'll pull when it starts up. It like looks at its deployment like this one's GitHub, so it'll know to go look up like, oh, I need to pull down the GitHub integration and run it, and that's how it works. And so that'll keep itself updated all the time, and that'll be fine. But the actual like runner kind of thing, that we might want to peg to some specific version. So I've made it so that we control that through a config map. So I'm going to edit this agent image config map, and this should work unless my watcher died, which sometimes happens. So here's my image tag. I'm just going to delete it. Let's just say we want to go to latest. Do that, and there it goes. It updates all the pods. This is kind of like what I think is a little faster, but it kind of replaces that old operator thing where we would have to update something in the database and it would go through. This kind of just does it. But yeah, that's my demo.
You guys see me?
Cool. Yeah. Go ahead, Carlos.
Sure. Okay, so I just want to show that we have bots working also for GitLab, something that we didn't have before. And so we have these boards here. I already assigned them to the only team I have. And we have the two types of boards, the Scrum board and the Kanban board. This is the Kanban one, sorry, the Scrum one. And here we can see a little bit with details, just which issues are in which column of the board. And I have a few here just to show that. We have the milestone, the board with milestones, and just a couple more with Kanban boards. But that's what I wanted to show, just that we have the boards working. I still need to work in the group boards, because that's a little bit different. I mean, in the repo boards, every issue is attached to that repo, but I need to do something different for group boards, because every group has many repos. And I also need to work on webhooks for issues. And I need to work in some logic for the incrementals, because we don't have the updated field in the boards API like in other entities. So I need to kind of figure out how to do that. That's all I have for now.
So I just thought I would show a couple things around the UI. Hopefully everybody's sort of seen, but we have the new sort of organization. If you're in a V4 customer provisioned, it'll be a little bit different. It'll be a user, team, and then organization. And then a couple other things that we changed were, I kind of cleaned this up a little bit. So this is kind of 2 lines now, so it doesn't kind of do some weird wrapping. On the right side down here, if you're the same person that accepted the org, it used to look weird. It used to look like it was duplicates. It wasn't duplicates because one was signing for the org and one was signing for yourself. So I just made that a little bit more explicit down here that these were accepted on behalf of the org. So, you can sort of tell which ones were which. A couple other things were on teams. If you got into the teams menu, there's a couple different ways you can kind of get into like a teams menu. Let's say gold miners here, and it wasn't clear which team you're on, because it just says teams and an ID on it. So I've changed this to where it actually has the name of the team, so you can sort of tell what team you're on when you're editing. I also removed in the V4, if you're a V4 provision, it removes the team settings because we don't need that anymore. It used to have the Scrum versus Kanban, so we removed that. This is also now called Workspace. We'll probably try to rework some of this language throughout the app to be Workspace. You can change the name of your workspace now if you're the owner. If you're not the owner, it'll just display it and you can't change it. But if you're the owner now, you can change the name of the workspace. And then the last thing I was going to show, we have this new workspace. This isn't enabled yet. This is a feature flag, but this will go to creating a new workspace screen in the new onboard. And then also, if you switch to your personal workspace, sometimes it was really difficult to tell the context you're in because the icon's always the same down here. So what I'm doing now is if you're in a personal workspace, it'll show your personal icon. And then when you switch to your your company or your team workspace, then it'll show this icon. Next step is I'm gonna make it hopefully in the next week or so. I've got my list for onboard. I'm gonna make it where the workspace can have an actual avatar as well that you can edit. So we'll show like Pinpoint's avatar here. The other thing is I made it a tooltip because sometimes this can be a little bit difficult, especially if it's long. It's hard to kind of read what that is. So I made it a little bit tooltips, make it a little bit easier. That's it.
Cool. Those are nice additions. All right. So we'll move on to Team 9 next.
All right. So I'll show off some stuff, and then we're on the. Chris, are you on the Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Up.
All right, I'll just add a couple of things. So first big one is we have a markdown editor that we added, so you can heading 1. Actually, Jeff just added typography to this, so it'll look a little different. You can also / and then as things get things done. So there's some cool stuff here with this markdown thing. It's a much richer experience, I guess you could say, which is nice. And added some keyboard shortcuts as well to all the blocks. You can see we tell you what they are here. So hit save. There's an issue, so issue block, so around just 92. And then there you go. There's that issue. I can't remember if we showed that one off last week or not. Developer profile, which is the embeddable cards. Oh, there you go. So you see Chris just is editing, I should say, this block. So it shows Chris Boley is editing, and now I can't do anything with it because he's actually editing it right now. Which is kind of cool. Oh, now he's done editing it.
That's nice.
And then we got a couple other different ones. So I'll use Code Sandbox as an example. So this block is linked to React Router library. They have their own sandbox thing. I don't know why their thing's not loading. Their demo's messed up. But anyway, Code Sandbox, if you don't know what it is, it's cool. It's kind of like a VS Code Online, but you can create a link to it and then share it. So in this case, this is a React beautiful DND. That's what it is. Pretty handy. So it's a little editor you can drop in. What else we got? We got Figma. Do I have a link to that? I do have a link. There it is. All right, so let's enter that in, save it, and then that'll drop Figma link here. So those are some of the blocks that we did last week, over the weekend. And then Chris, you want to talk about some of the stuff you worked on?
So I guess you've shown it off already, really. It was the highlighting and the lock state, which still needs a little bit of work. There's some situations we need to kind of work through, but now it will, as Rick showed, it will lock a block so that not more than one person can edit at once. And yeah, we're looking. You haven't talked about keyboard shortcuts and stuff, right?
I did not talk about those actually. Yeah. So I can show that real quick. If you hit down, it'll, like if I want to go down to the issue and edit it, everything in here is keyboard shortcut editable. So I didn't touch the mouse the whole time while doing that.
As we show the avatar that pops up on the top right hand corner of a block while you're highlighting it is the person that created the block, and I've just extended the data model and just working through so that we can show all of the different users that contributed changes to it as well. And obviously, like we're showing in the menu, it will tell you who created it and edited it and when they did so as well.
And I think one thing we were talking about internally on the Slack chat was having some type of indication of when you can use those mouse shortcut or the keyboard shortcuts, like when you hover over things or some effect that everybody will start to learn that they can do all that type of stuff as well.
Yep. One of the things I think what we're talking about is kind of reimagining how this context menu thing, like we're using our context menu component. But first of all, that library is deprecated. And second of all, you can't programmatically open and close this, which means I can't open it via keyboard shortcut. And then we can't control some of that. So we got to think about how we want to, do that. And then it's the same thing with this down here. There's this add button at the bottom. I want a keyboard shortcut to start that and then, pick these things out. So I think we're going to have to rethink the context menu.
I do like the ad on the bottom. It's helpful.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love it.
The other thing we talked a little bit about is reimagining that right side a little bit as well.
Yeah, originally the idea was on the daily, you'd have like the stuff that is going on today, issues in progress, PRs that need to be reviewed, calendar stuff. And then you could click on activity and you just see general activity. And then we were going to have a recommendations tab, which I think we'll still do at some capacity where we recommend certain things to talk about or add to your notebook or whatever. But it feels like really what we should be doing is like having the stand up as a fly out here, or even some of this other stuff in our product. Like it almost feels like the notebook should just be there, and then you have like these apps that you can kind of fly out and look at and drag stuff on and dismiss it or something.
Yeah, what we noticed on our stand-up yesterday was like we want to kind of like edit the notebook and take notes and whatever while we're going through the stand-up, which we have the stand-up view. We have that stand-up view up, so we ended up having to have like two tabs, which then it's hard because you got to switch back and forth. So I think even just maybe short-term, even just replacing this right side, like you said, with like a fly-out, or even if it was just a more vertical view of the stand-up with all your kind of what's you don't need the whole like thing up top or whatever, just a list, and with the right columns in the right order or whatever. And then, again, the other one is, I know you guys are working on, but like the ability to drag things over onto the desktop.
Right. Yep. So I guess it depends on what we want the focal point to be, because you could make the argument that the notebook should be the flyover thing. And so you're on stand up and then the notebook gets, it flies in or whatever, and you can drag stuff into it and then it flies out. Like Matt's original idea was to have an icon here on the sidebar here, and you click on it and it flies out, and then you could have the notebook in there that you fill out on whatever screen you're on.
Yeah, I don't think the notebook works well in a very narrow view. I think it needs to be the kind of center, and then everything else, comes in. But that's just my personal opinion, because it needs a lot of it wants and needs a lot of real estate. Trying to like put it like a list of things on the right, like you have here on the issues in progress. That's fine, but like imagine this content in the center being in that narrow window right there.
Yeah,
it'd be hard to.
You'd almost have to have a minimized stand-up view anyway if you had it fly into. You have to
kind of like that. I kind of like that idea of like, and how we do is it a flyover? Is it like you said? Is it to the right? Like you kind of have it fixed there? I don't know, but like I kind of like the idea of having that as almost like a little widget. Like, obviously a minimized view of it, but you know, it could fly over and you could just drag things off your stand-up. And then maybe, you know, I don't know, maybe there's another view, and maybe we don't want to have too many choices. So just another option is, like you said, on the stand-up view, is there like a rise up, you know, like you can have like a notebook and you click it and it rises the notebook up like over on top of the stand-up view, and you can take notes and then lower it,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. Because what you do right now is you have two tabs open, right? You have your notebook tab open and your,
Yeah.
I kind of like that bottom opportunity. I like the coming up from the bottom because you still get the real estate. You could still scroll into it, and it could be on any page.
Yeah.
That way, right?
Yeah. There could be like a fixture. I don't know where we'd do it, because it'd be weird to have it on the right side, you know, and have, you know, maybe it's on the bottom right, you know, where you click your whatever notebook and it rises up. You'd have to have it distinctly separate than the sidebar items, but if there's a way, you could click it, and anywhere you're at in the app, it could rise up. It's the notebook portion.
I'd love to give that visibility to it somehow.
Yeah. The other thing that immediately comes to mind that I would like is, I'd like to see, especially for us, I'd like to see like the icons of the team across the top, the normal avatar treatment across the top, but then like treat like who's on the page a little different than like who's editing. But like, I think we do this in presence and like in the retro, like have the presence indicator if the person's actually on the page.
Yeah, we could do just like Notion does again, if you look at the way they handle the avatars.
Yeah.
Like you see everybody.
It'd be a little different than who's edited. It would just be the team. All your team members would be the avatars. And then if you're on the page right now, you know, it would have like the presence of who's on the daily right now. Anyway. It's nice. It's coming together really nicely and very fast. It's just really awesome.
It really is. Yeah, it's been great to use the last couple of days for sure. All right. Anything else from Team Nan? All right. Let's go over to Team Bolt.
All right, I can show a brief new stuff on the dashboard. Let me get my sharing going here. So Jeff showed a little bit of this screen on his demo, but I'll kind of walk through some of the new changes here. So one thing that Jeff actually added was the ability here to join a meeting with one click from anything that's going on currently. So anything that is within 15 minutes or currently scheduled on your calendar will show up in this right now section. And then if we can pull out the link shows up right there to join. One of the biggest changes around the calendars is we added a new, it's like an expirable memo. So every once in a while, we basically recalculate which category these events go in. So before, you had to refresh to see something move from upcoming to right now. But now, as soon as it becomes eligible for this category, it's going to jump up there, and these timestamps will also continually be updating. So you can see that just changed to 24 minutes ago.
Oh, very nice.
It's another minute has passed. So other than that, unfortunately, my environment isn't really set up for it right now. But if you have a ton of issues that one of your tickets is blocking, like Jeff had like 10 issues of his that were all blocking the same issue. Now we kind of roll those up into one, and it'll say, Bolt 309 is blocking 10 issues. And then you can get a tooltip and see the titles of each issue that you're blocking. And these also open to the slide over for your issue. And so in the case of when you're blocking, say 10, if you click on it, you'll see over here on the right all the ones that you're blocking. So we definitely don't lose any of that information. The other thing is that this is now wired up with the little icons. So you can click on an article that's interesting to you, and we show the little favicon and who the publisher is. Unfortunately, Medium does some weird stuff with their icons. So even though a lot of these blogs have their own icon, it seems to be set with JavaScript after the fact. So when we go to scrape it, we just get the standard Medium icon. So still looking into that one. But if we can, we actually have the publisher name here.
If anybody has any ideas on that, please let me know. Because I'm using this little Python package that gets the favicon from a URL, and these are all just returning Medium icons.
Yeah, the feed should have a separate icon, but we can look into that. I can help you look into that. I've done a lot of work on this stuff in the past. So.
Okay. Yeah. You mean the RSS feed?
Yeah, I don't know if you're using their feed or you're using something else.
So if you go to like
RSS or Atom.
RSS.
Okay. Yeah, we can take it off.
Hey,
Yeah,
I got a question. So maybe I missed something. How do I add a feed? I don't have anything on my dashboard.
If you add interests and languages,
can
that'll
show you real
start
quick.
to fan
Yeah,
out.
it's right here on your settings. So
Okay.
We need to
set
come up with
languages.
default content. We need to come up with some default content, and also, you know,
Yeah.
if you don't have any interests or languages, we should have like a little thing to add it right in line, maybe even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although
that'd be good.
I mean, going
I
forward,
think-
you'll always have interest in languages, right?
Right,
Since
'cause you can't get
them
into
as
the-
part of onboarding.
But
Yeah, you
Pedro,
can't.
Pedro, were you asking how do you add a feed, or how do you select a language and interest and it adds a feed automatically?
No. Yeah. Right. So how do I get a feed on my dashboard?
A feed, period.
I think I've done all of this, but I'll play with it.
One of the things that I have to do though is listen for DB change for those things and update our interest in language cache. Right now it doesn't do that. So that's definitely something that is coming shortly. I'm also adding the ability to add other content feed, types, right? Jeff yesterday was asking about dev2. So I'm cleaning up my code a bit to make it a little bit more plug-inable. So adding a new content feed type should be very, very easy. And then adding a new content feed is just as simple as going to that CMS that we have deployed on Edge and Stable and adding in a new blog sort of entry or an RSS feed entry.
Yeah, so Pedro actually raises an interesting point to me. So we're gonna, right now, Pedro, the way it is, we put the feeds in and we determine what feeds the content engine, right? And I think eventually we will want to allow somebody to expressly add a feed. But, I mean, it could be a feature
Maybe.
down the road, right? But we have to decide what we want to do there. But
Yeah, it'd be cool if we just discover links either that are shared in the right side or shared in other places, and then do that as well. But yeah, we need to be cautious about how we think about this part of it.
yeah, right now it's curated by us, I guess, Pedro is what my point was.
Okay, cool. I got it. Yeah.
Some little bugs to fix up, I guess, would be determining whether or not these are actually embeddable in an iframe. There's an X, what's the header option?
X-frame options or something.
Yeah, X-frame options. So I'm going to check that and add that to the entity to determine if we can embed it in an iframe. Like I said, listen to that DB change event for the interest in languages. What were some of the other ones? Getting the correct favicon, adding other feed sources. And then, obviously having an actual model for engagement and things like that. So there's a good bit of work to do here, but, for right now, I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, that was the biggest change around the dashboard. The only other little tweak that there is if you go to edit your profile, you can now edit your username inline. This is sort of like a temporary solution until we kind of rework some of the editing design here. But it was just kind of weird in terms of like writing up the press release about this, telling you to go to like this tab and set your username, then go to this tab and turn on your profile. So now it's all in one place.
Yeah, it's a nice update. Cool.
And that's everything for me.
All right. Anything else from Team Bolt? Okay. Does anybody else have anything at all they want to share? All right. Sounds good. We'll call this a wrap, and everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.